Welcome guys to a brand new tactics video here for FM21 on LS Plays FM. Now today's tactic is a little bit of a strange one in comparison to some of the previous ones. It's a bit of a weird looking tactic. It is a 5-3-2 defensive midfielder, a 5-1-2-2 tactic I guess you could call it. It on paper looks a bit defensive, but this tactic I have tested it with various teams and I'm using it currently in my Kaiserslautern Road to Glory save, and it has done wonders for every single side. We've got treble winners, we've just got teams scoring goals and defending phenomenally well. I've done tests with Chelsea, Wolves and Arsenal. I'll run through all of it with you here today, and we'll also run through with you exactly how the tactic works. Let's get into it and see quite how it gets on. Here we are then guys in Football Manager 21 itself, and I will begin the actual tactics video with the Chelsea team. This is where I'll actually go through exactly how the tactic works. Now before we do get going properly with today's video guys, if you do enjoy this video here and also you find the tactic to be useful and so on, please do go and chuck a like down onto the video. As I always say, every like on the channel massively does help the channel itself out. And of course guys as well, if you want to see any more of my content, such as my FM21 tactics videos, any of my FM21 experiments, or the Red Devil Revival series, our Kaiserslautern Road to Glory save, then do make sure guys to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to notify when any of my content here on YouTube goes live. And of course as well guys, if you want to download this tactic, there will be a link down below in the description which will also take you to firstly a Steam Workshop page and also to a Dropbox link. If you do go and use the Steam Workshop one guys, please do make sure to leave some positive feedback and also to favourite the link as well if you do find the tactic to be helpful. It always matters to help the tactic itself out. Now then, in terms of the tactic itself, this is it here on the screen. The 5-3-2 defensive midfielder tactic, the 5-1-2-2 tactic. On paper, it looks very defensive, 100%, I will give it that. But despite it looking that way, it does score goals and it does, of course, defend very, very well. Firstly, I'll go through the roles and then we'll talk about the actual tactic itself. First of all, we have the sweeper keeper on support with Mendy here. We then have two ball-playing defenders on defend and a central defender on cover. We also have two wing-backs, both on support. We then have a DM who's a ball-winning midfielder on support. This I find was very useful because if it was on defence, it just wouldn't help out the attack enough. On a supportive role though, he obviously has help out defensively, but still pushes forward as well. Then in the midfield, which in my opinion is the most vital part of this tactic, you have an advanced playmaker, in this case it's Mason Mount, and a Mazzala on attack. This is where basically your team will link itself between the attack and the defence, and these two men will be pushing up when you go forward. And then finally in the attack you have two strikers, a deep line forward on attack who will then drop deeper into these gaps here to help link up the attack and the midfield of course, and then the advanced forward, in this case Timo Werner. This tactic, I found that strike partnership and the midfield partnership really linked well together when I have used this tactic, and also from the test as you will see very shortly. In terms of how the tactic itself plays, it's on a positive mentality. I suppose if you're playing against a smaller side you could well put it to attacking, but by default I play it on positive. In possession we have it so we play fairly narrowly because we don't have any wingers of course, so there's no much point having a wide style of play. We pass into space, it's a very counter-attacking style of play. This one's a pass in space works really well, especially with that advanced forward. We look for the overlaps on either side because of course we do. We have no wingers and we have wing backs on the go. We play out of defence, we have a standard passing directness, a higher tempo, and everything else is just left to the default. In the transition, we like to counter press, to counter, to distribute quickly from the goalkeeper. As I say, this is very much a counter-attacking style of play. Of course it is, it's much more defensive. Yet despite it being counter-attacking, whether it's on a bigger team or a smaller team, it seems to work equally well. Then once we distribute, we have the keeper distribute to either the fullbacks or centre-backs. I like to play out of defence, that's why I have it set to that. You could arguably change that if you want to, and I have the keeper taking short kicks. Finally, when we're out of possession, guys, we have a higher line of engagement, a standard defensive line. Because of the fact that we had the defence midfield, I'm happy for us to push up quite high, and then the midfield is able to obviously drop back and support the defenders when required. We like to force the opposition out wide because we are playing a 5 at the back and we have 3 central defenders. I feel confident that our defenders should be able to head away any crosses, anything like that, hence why we force the opponents outside. We then have a more urgent pressing intensity. We prevent the short goalkeeper distribution and we like to get stuck in. I found this was very, very vital. Otherwise, sometimes players would try and one past you a little bit too easily. So getting stuck in can really help that. Of course, if you finally get too many yellow cards, red cards, you can always take that one off. Now, that is how the tactic itself works. Of course, if you're on an Xbox or if you're not on PC and you can't import the tactic, you can always feel free to just copy what we have here. Of course, if you can import it, then that makes life a little bit easier for yourself. The final bit I'll also show you, I have one set piece, and that is just the attacking ones. I don't really do set pieces. I'm not particularly great at them. But the defensive one is set to the default. But when we attack, I have this version here, which sets the ball to the far post where my right-sided centre-back goes for it. And then I have the exact same on the left-hand side. I then also have a near-post variant, which does exactly the same thing. Of course, you can copy all the roles and so on if you would like to. Again, it's exactly the same for left and right. But guys, that is how the tactic itself works. In terms of opposition instructions and play instructions, everything is set to the default. I don't use the opposition instructions myself. I either let my assistant do it or I just leave them off and I maybe occasionally tweak it for the odd side. And as I say, with the player ones, they are just the default ones that each role has in the game. Of course, if you want to add your own ones, feel free to do so. You may find it may well work slightly better. But that is the tactic, guys. Now what we'll do is we'll simulate forward to the end of the first season and we'll see quite how Chelsea get on. Here we are then at the end of the season for Chelsea, and on the screen already I can already see that Chelsea have won the Premier League and Timo Werner was very, very close to hitting 50 goals. Let's get into the competition and see exactly what went on. So of course Chelsea did win the Premier League. The ball only wanted them to qualify for the Champions League, so they've already done better than that. They've won the Carabao Cup, they got to the semi-final of the FA Cup, and they actually won the Champions League. Oh wow, they went to extra time against PSG. Fair play to Chelsea. They won themselves a treble, not quite the good treble, because of course they didn't win the FA Cup, but they were very, very close to actually winning a quadruple, getting to a semi-final and only losing to Liverpool in this case with Chelsea. Very, very good stuff. Timo Werner scored a lot of goals by the looks of it. 26 in the Prem, 13 in the Champions League, 6 in the FA Cup and 4 in the Carabao Cup. He's had a very, very good season indeed. Out of interest, how many goals did he get overall? If we have a quick look on here, if we sort it by goals. So Werner got himself 49 goals and 13 assists in 57 games. You know, Tammy Abraham actually out there with 21 goals and 8 assists. I presume he must have been playing as the deep lying forward. So between them just together, they've managed to get themselves 70 goals between the two strikers. That is very, very decent indeed. That really, really is. Fair play. That obviously does suggest his tactic does score quite a lot of goals then. The fact that those two men alone have scored that many goals. Now what we'll do though is we're going to have a look at the actual analyst report, stuff like that, so we can see exactly how the team compared in comparison to the rest of the league. If we go to the team report and then we'll have a look at the analyst report on here and so on. So in terms of the team itself in comparison to the Premier League, you can see Chelsea are doing pretty decent in terms of goals per game. They're not quite the highest in the league and everything like that, but they're very, very good indeed. They've got a decent XG per game. They're way above average. They're conceded an XG against though is where this tactic is phenomenally good. You can see they are far and away the better type of side in comparison to the rest of the league regarding their defence. Conceded per game and XG is so far ahead of the rest of the league. And shots per game isn't actually that high, but I suppose the main thing is though they have got the job done over the teams in which they have played. If we look at the scoring end of stuff for Chelsea, if we go onto this side here, you can see that the team themselves are not overly aggressive, but they are very clinical. They are one of the most clinical sides in the league, despite not having tons and tons of shots per game. Their conversion rate is relatively high, only bettered by Brighton and West Brom. So fair enough there, Chelsea, fair enough indeed. But even so, offensively, they are still very, very good at actually getting the ball into the back of the net and not wasting too many chances. In terms of the conceding size of things, we have a look on here. Unsurprisingly, they are the best around. They aren't too busy. They are one of the quietest sides in leagues in terms of facing shots, but the impenetrable side of things is ridiculous. The conversion rate of opposition teams against them is very, very low. Almost only 7% of teams are having a conversion rate up against Chelsea. That just suggests quite how good the team is in terms of defending up against teams in the Prem. Out of interest, did they have the best defence in the league? I presume they probably did. If we go on to here, we sort it by goals against. Indeed they were. 24 goals conceded in 38 games. That is bonkers stuff. That really is. And unsurprisingly, Mendy on there getting the most clean sheets in the Prem of 21. How many clean sheets did he get overall, just out of interest? Let's have a little look and just see. Mendy, he got 30 clean sheets across 60 games. So he had 1 clean sheet every 2 games. A very, very good return there in terms of his defensive showings from Mendy. Very, very good indeed. Now, of course, that wraps up though Chelsea. Let's go and have a look at Arsenal and also Wolves. We'll see just how those two teams get on as well. Here we are then with the Arsenal team using this tactic. This is basically the type of side they're going to be playing. Leno probably in net, Holding, Gabriel and David Luiz. Bellerin and Tierney at wing-back, Partey as the most likely the defensive midfielder, Xhaka and Ceballos and Lacazette and Aubameyang probably in and around that formation like that. They may well get swapped around. But what we'll do is we'll simulate through this season and we'll see how Arsenal get on in each of their competitions and see if they can do any better possibly than Chelsea or if they can have a very good season themselves. Here we are then with Arsenal at the end of their first season, and straight away I can already see Arsenal have had a very, very good time in the Premier League. They finished up there in 3rd place. They also managed to get 81 points, which means I think they only finished 3 behind what Chelsea got in that simulation. I can always see Lacazette got the highest goal scorer, Saka highest average rating for the team, and Aubameyang out there with 18 assists as well. A very, very decent season it would appear. What about the rest of the competitions then for Arsenal? Of course, we know they finished up in 3rd. A very, very good season because in fact they only were expected to get Europa League football by the board, so they've done better than that. The Europa League, they actually won the Europa League. They beat PSG again as well. Somehow PSG fallen into the Europa League and then Arsenal beat them in the final. Okay, Arsenal, well done. They won the FA Cup as well, so they've won a double so far. Very good stuff indeed. Carabao Cup, they got to the quarterfinals and the Community Shield, they were runners-up, but that's just a glorified friendly. But Arsenal winning a double and getting Champions League football and a very, very good points tally is very, very good indeed. Let's have a little look in terms of the actual goals scored and conceded. How did Arsenal do? So for goals scored, they were 4th highest goals scored, and goals against, they were the 3rd best. 29 in 38. Very, very good stuff indeed. Did Lacazette get a top goal score? He actually did. He finished top goal score with 25. Very, very good showing from him. He got 25 in 28 games. That's nuts. I did not expect to see that from Lacazette, but well done to him. And Aubameyang up there, I don't know if you can see behind my webcam, I think you can, is up there for 2nd highest amounts of assists as well. So overall, Arsenal using this tactic have had a very, very good time of it. That is for sure. Now let's go and have a look at Wolves. We'll look at exactly how they're going to line up and then see how they do as well. Here we are then now for the final test with Wolves. This is how they're going to be lining up roughly. It's going to be Patricio in net, Bolly, Cody and Saiss, Semedo and Marcel as the wing-backs most likely. Then Donkin, Matinho and Neves, of course, as that midfield 3. And then likely Jimenez and Adama Traore. So that's how they're going to line up. And also, just in case you were wondering where Wolves are predicted to finish in the Premier League, if we go and have a look at the season preview, they're expected to finish up there in 8th. So they're expected to be kind of like the best of the rest type of side. So what we'll do is we'll go forward in this season as well, and we'll see just how Wolves get on in this save as well. Here we are then at the end of the simulation for Wolves as well, and straight away we can already see that they've had a pretty decent season using that 5-3-2 tactic. They're finished up in the Premier League in 5th place, getting 72 points. So again, a very, very good points total. Only 12 of what Chelsea had when they won the Premier League. So a very, very decent season, all things considered. Raul Jimenez is the top scorer with 20 goals. I do know actually in this simulation, Jimenez was out for about a good 6, 7, 8 weeks, something like that. So still get 20 goals is still pretty decent nonetheless. Traore with the highest average rating, and Moutinho with the most assists. With only 9, so not as many goals being scored by the sounds of it, but still a decent time. In terms of the league table, how many goals and stuff did they score overall? So Wolves, they scored 63, so they were kind of like the 7th best in terms of goals scored. And then against, they had the 3rd best defence in the league, or actually joint 2nd best, because they were level with Arsenal with 35. So very, very good stuff there nonetheless. In terms of the rest of the competitions, they got to the 4th round of the FA Cup, they lost to Arsenal, and they got to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup and they lost to Fulham. So still, despite losing to Fulham, getting to a semi-final with Wolves, pretty decent stuff. And of course, it means they go into next season with Europa League football. So they've had a good year as well, and of course, only being 5 points off the Champions League, they were very, very much in contention for the top 4 spots by using this tactic. But though guys, that overall does bring this tactic simulation and this tactics video to a close. And of course, what we've seen is that using this tactic, every single side has been really, really good defensively, either having the best defence or one of the best defences in their respective leagues. And despite being so good defensively, they're still scoring a lot of goals and performing very well in the respective competitions that those sides are playing. And of course, Arsenal winning a double and getting third in the league and having a really, really good point. So to Wolves finishing up in fifth, getting themselves comfortably into Europa League football and only just off the Champions League. And of course, Chelsea winning that treble and having a fantastic time, scoring 70 goals between their two strikers as well. Phenomenal stuff indeed. But guys, I really do hope you've enjoyed this video here today. If you have, please do go and chuck a like down onto it. Of course, don't forget you can go into the description and download the tactic as well via Steam or via Dropbox if you would like to do that as well. And of course, if you're looking forward to seeing any more of my content here on YouTube, such as the FM21 tactics video, including my how to build a tactic video, should be linked on the screen at the moment hopefully, or any more of my FM21 content, guys, then do make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to be notified when any of my content here on YouTube goes live. But guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time.